Hey there, today we're going to look at on how to do a supervised classification inside of Erdas Imagine. And so I already have a Landsat image of Gwinnett County pulled up. So we're going to work with something here besides the Gainesville area today. And so up here at the very top, you would have started off at the Home tab. You want to go over here to the raster, and then from raster you want to go all the way over here to Supervised, and we're going to go to the signature editor. The main thing about why we're going to the signature editor first before we go to the supervised classification is that with a supervised classification you actually have to train the computer. And so in this case that means you actually have to define training sets for the computer and tell the computer what it is. And then the computer will use those kind of mean digital numbers in order to classify the rest of the image. And so we have to train it. And so we'll go to the signature editor here. So that way we can make our training sets. And so here's our little window for it. And so in order to draw these little training sets, we have to go over here to the drawing tab up here at the top. And then we'll have to go over here to this little polygon tool over here on the left side of the screen. But before we click that here, let's zoom down to an area. So let's go over here to the water first. So I'm zooming down in here in the water. Okay, now we're going to click on the polygon tool. And so now we're going to draw ourselves a little training area. And so there's a little AOI. It doesn't have to be anything special or fancy looking, just a whatever shape. And so now we're going to go over here to the signature editor and bring it back up. And now you're going to click on here, this little plus and like an L-shaped looking arrow. And what that's going to do is that it's actually going to take like the mean digital numbers of that AOI layer. And so we click it, and there it is. As you see here, it just appeared. And so you want to do at least, on average 4 to 5 of these things per class. And so let's draw a little bit more here. You want to kind of make sure that you're on different areas of the image. And so after this one here, we'll move to a different part of the image. That way, just everything is very, after you take so many averages, you're going to finally find the average of that particular class. And when you find that, it's going to give you some really good classification results. Alright, and so let's move back out here. Let's see if we can find another water, another water body. Let's go to this one. It's way over here on the other side of the map. Alright, and so let's draw ourselves a little polygon right here. And then signature editor, and we will add that. And then zoom out again. Let's maybe move over here to this one. And then let us draw another little polygon. And then we'll do signature editor again and add it. So now you can see here we have 4 of them. You can see here the colors is pretty uniform. They're staying there. And so what we want to do now is we want to take an average of all these samples that we just collected here. You don't have to do this, but it's kind of, I would prefer or recommend, that you would do this. Just kind of makes things a little simpler, a little bit cleaner. So what you just do is highlight all of this. I'm just left clicking at number 1 and just drag and hold it all the way down to number 4. And you come up here to the top here and you see this little L-shaped arrow again with 3 little lines next to it. And so what that means is that it's going to take the average of all of that into a new class. And there it is, class number 5. And so now just right click over here on any one of these that you just highlighted and then go ahead and set delete selection. So that way it's gone, it's out. You don't have to worry about it anymore. And now let's change the name of this before we move on to anything else and call it water. Because that's what the area that we were taking those samples from were water classes. Alright, and so now let's move on to another class. How about let's go on to urban rocks and soils. That's pretty easy here. It's all this nice bright blue stuff. So we'll just draw a couple of these here really fast. So unfortunately this does take a little bit of time to do, just because you have to kind of zoom in, zoom out, move around. You have to make sure what it is that you are taking samples of to make sure it's really actually that particular class or not. And so you have to do this. So we're doing this here for water, urban rocks, and soils, also referred to as URS. Um, and we'll do like kind of pasture, ag, and forest. Alrighty, so now we have all four of our classes. We have water, URS, pasture, ag, and trees. You'll notice that pasture, ag, and trees are pretty similar in color, and they just are because they're vegetation. Pasture, ag, though, is usually a brighter red than what trees are. And so that's what you just gotta kind of have to keep in mind when you're picking out between those two different classifications. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to go to File, and we're going to go to Save As. We have to save our signature set here. And so let's save this to a place where we can find it later on. Yeah, that saving it right here should be good. And so we're just going to call this signature. And we're going to hit OK. And I noticed that I misspelled it. There we go. And then we'll do OK. Alright, and so we'll just minimize this just in case we need it later on. So we'll go to raster here, and we'll go back to supervised and supervised classification. Notice that our image is already in here as the input raster. Now we have to have our signature file here, and so let's go here down here to signature, and then we have to have our classified file image, which we are going to save this as GW, because it's for Gwinnett. This is a 2006 image, and we will call this supervised. And OK. And it's saying that that doesn't exist for some reason. Why? It must have switched on me. Here, signature. Okay. Alright, and then everything else should be fine here. And then what we'll just do here is click OK. If you have like an AOI is just like a boundary box, so it's like clipping it. So it's like you only want to do a supervised classification within that certain area. And so since we're not worried about that because the image has already been clipped, and so we'll just go ahead and click on OK. And so it's running through, going through its like nearest neighbor calculations or maximum likelihood, excuse me, in order to figure out the best classes for all the pixels within the image. And so now it's done. So we'll click on close. Let's go right click. Let's open this up. Go recent. And we want this. And OK. And OK again. And there is our image. So let's turn off our AOI because we don't want that anymore. Let's go to fit to frame. Here. Alright, and let's open up the attribute table so where you get an idea of what all these classes are. Right there. So here you can say, right here, number 0, you can see that's unclassified. That's all this black area on the outside of the image. You can see here that we have URS, water, pasture, ag, and trees. And that's a really nice thing about supervised classification is that you only end up with these couple little classes here, where only 4 or 5 of them technically are really real, and then it's already labeled for you. Now, if you did unsupervised classification, you have like 50, 100, you have a lot of different classes, and they're not named, and then you have to go figure out what classes belong to what. It takes a little, it's a little bit different perspective on it. And you can notice here that's kind of kept a color as well associated to it. So you can see here this is being called urban rocks and soils. You see here this water is being called water. This kind of tannish color is being called like pasture ag. And this darker color is being called trees. For that. Notice that this isn't giving you like areas or anything like that in here. And so another way here, we can look at this image is we can actually swipe it back and forth. And so you just right click and we're going to do swipe here. And so you can actually use this little automatic swiping tool up here at the top in order to swipe. Alright, and so here we go. With this, I missed the little icon here for working. You have to set one of the two of these, either your supervised IMG or, one of the two images that you have. One is working, one is static. And so that's how you flip-flop them back and forth with the swipe tool. And so as you can see here, as we're swiping from left to right now, that as the image is becoming uncovered, you can see the classes that are lying underneath it. And you can kind of see the accuracy or so of this. I mean, it's not 100% accurate by no means, but right here, like you can see, like where it's saying right here that this is urban rocks and soil. If we move it away here, all of a sudden you can see that's what it is. And so for the water, for the most case, it's probably the most accurate within here. You can see that there's probably some issues with it. So like right inside here, like this is portraying less water than what there really is when you're swiping it back and forth. Or for instance, like up here, it's picking up like an urban or rocky development along the stream side, which it probably really isn't. It's probably more something like a pasture or something like that, that just isn't being read correctly. And so that's a way you can see that. And so with that, that is your basic classification. Now you should be able to, if we open our attribute table back up here, we can change the colors. So for urban rocks and soils, let's change it to, let's say, tan. And so now it's changed to tan. So for water, let's change water to more of a blue. This is pasture ag. Let's just change this to, let's do a bright green so it pops out at us. And here for trees, let's pick like a darker green for it. And we can exit. Save changes before closing. Yes. And so there we just changed our colors, and gives you a little bit of a different idea here. You can see things a little differently as they're popping out at you, about like how developed Gwinnett County is. You notice that a lot of the urban areas over here to the west, that's true because it's closer kind of towards Atlanta is. So Atlanta's going to be spreading into Gwinnett, starting from the west side of Gwinnett. So it's moving east across it. And so that is your basic supervised classification. If you wanted like areas or something for these different classes, you would actually like take this in ArcMap or something like that, and you can pull out the classes inside there.